I shall now hand back to Tony to take us, I think, briefly through where we are on standards.
Yeah, I'll try and keep it brief as well. But first of all, I want to say to AVPA, thank you very much to Ian and all the members of AVPA. And just to point out that a lot of them do all the different things that you saw. So they're like multiple things, but we asked them to concentrate on one specific thing. So you've got an overview of everything there. And it is astonishing, there's things that are coming along. We've heard about the hand movements. There's some detailed research going into how you can do age estimation from your pulse. So no information. There's all sorts going on. So it is a very different picture to 2004, and the speed with which technology has developed has been enormous. And I think I'm going to talk about the issue of how we then standardize that, how we bring some market structure around it. And I'm the editor of the international standards on this, ISO 27566. There's been others as well. There's PAS 1296 in the UK. There's IEEE 2089 as well. I'm going to talk particularly about the ISO document, which is in progress. A bit about us, first of all. Age check certification scheme. We test that ID and age check systems work. That's what we do. So all these different things that you've seen, we've tested, we've looked at, we've analysed. We make sure that they actually do what they say on the tin, and that you can trust and have confidence in them. It's really important to be very clear about there's a very big difference between age assurance and identity assurance. So identity assurance is, I am Tony. How do you know I'm Tony? Well, it says it on the introductory paper you've had. It says it on the and I could prove that to you. A fairly low level of assurance that you believe that I'm Tony. If you wanted to lend me some money, you'd want a bit more assurance. So I'd have to produce some evidence that I'm Tony. Very different. I am in my 50s is a different question. You don't need to know that I'm called Tony. You need to know that I am one of the 1.5 billion people on this planet that are in their 50s. And that is enough to be able to have age assurance and how secure you are in that knowledge. So it's very important that we understand the difference between age and identity assurance. And this is fundamental to this case, in the Paxton case, in relation to the fear that there is that people are going to have to prove who they are online. Adults will have to prove who they are online in order to be able to access protected free speech. The technology is such that that is not the case anymore. It may well have been in 2004, but it definitely isn't now. And so the standards that are developing around this, I keep pressing the wrong button, are ISO 27566. That is a number that sadly we're all going to become in this field very familiar with. I'm going to take you through very briefly what it covers. It is a framework, so it sets out very high level characteristics of age assurance systems that are expected to be able to meet international standards. So it looks at the functional characteristics. Does it do what it says it's meant to do? Is it correctly binding the result to the correct individual? Is it working in a functional way? Is it user acceptable? Performance characteristics. So that we've seen lots of statistics thrown at you there. It's 99% accurate. It does this, it does that. It works in X number of seconds. So what are those performance characteristics? Privacy. Front and center, right in the middle of the whole framework, is all about privacy. It's all about how you protect that user from access to the data by the relying party, the double blind, how you make sure that the actual action of checking the age verification doesn't add to their digital footprint, doesn't create more footprint, doesn't create something that you could track and trace. And bear in mind, this is a global standard. There are parts of the world that if you are accessing online pornography and you are gay, that will get you locked up. In parts of the world, it will get you shot. So you've got to be really, really careful about the digital footprint and the privacy that is created around access to this information. Thankfully, in a free society like this, you don't have that kind of thing, but there are parts of the world where that is still the reality. It's got to be secure. This information has got to be secure. You've got to be able to ensure that it is being passed properly between the different parties. You've got to be able to ensure that the results, the tokens or the outputs, are not able to be interfered with and subject to injection attacks or presentation attacks and various other things that we've heard. And it's got to be acceptable. So you've got to have a right of redress, a right to be able to complain. It's got to be inclusive. It's got to be able to work for all members of society, including people who are identity challenge. There are many people who have never driven, never left their country, don't have national ID cards. What are they going to do? So how are you going to cope for and help them? And it's got to be transparent. So the final one is almost the most important one, is that every single age assurance system that is going to be out there under this framework will have a publicly available practice statement that will explain in actually quite a lot of detail exactly what it does, exactly how it works, and exactly how you can build trust and confidence in it. And that will be available from that provider's website and information for public consumption. It also goes into dealing with what are we actually talking about, and this is perhaps part of the hardest part of doing international standards, because we needed to come up with the clear parameters of what we are talking about, so that anybody anywhere in the world in any language can understand it and follow it. So we've got three. There are three methods of age assurance. The first is age verification. And age verification is quite simply about calculating the difference between a verified year or date of birth and a subsequent date. That could be today's date, it could be another date, but it's that about how old that person was on that day. That is age verification. Verified is important. Year doesn't necessarily need to be the exact date, and the date of birth is also important. Age estimation. That's the analysis of biological or behavioral features of humans that vary with age. Very, very carefully there, that is not biometrics. Biometrics is something different. Biometrics is about the unique identification of individuals from their biometric features or their biological features. Age analytics is not about identifying individuals. Age analytics is about the use of machine learning and AI algorithms to be able to look at things that vary with age. And the third one, this is one that has been around for years but has never really been properly defined, is what we call age inference. And age inference is where you're not trying to work out their exact date of birth or their or whether they are what they are or how old they are, or using age analytics. You're simply looking at verified information which can indirectly imply that they are under a certain age or over a certain age. And I use this as a good example. In order to be a airline captain under federal aviation legislation, you've got to be over 21. That's age inference. If you can prove that they're an airline captain, you can prove that they're over 21. That's simply what age inference is. Takes forever to develop standards, I can tell you. It's very hard work. You've got a lot of international diplomacy to do, and that's not my strong suit. But we're working on it, and we've got to the point where we are about to, I believe, this autumn publish a draft international standard, which goes out for a ballot. There is then a period of translation. We have to translate it into different languages around the world because it's an international document. And then there is a final approval. And we should get to the point where sometime around May, June time, 2025, we will have ISO 27566 Part 1, the framework. There may be 2 or 3 other parts that come after it in relation to guidance and in relation to how you do conformity assessment. We're still working on those. So that is the standards development. I just wanted to, before I hand back to Ian for the last couple of speakers, I just wanted to say thank you very much to everybody for listening today and for attending. And thank you to NCOSI for your kind hospitality. And hand back to Ian, who's going to close us out.